right, let's do it. Week 13 already of the college football season is here. We're going to hit the books college football style alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish. I will be talking about his Lions here in a second. But as we always do on this show, here's what's coming up. We'll recap what we just saw, week 12 of college football. And, of course, we'll preview the biggest matchups of the upcoming season. The biggest one in college football to date is coming up on Saturday, Michigan and Ohio State. Notre Dame USC is a big game, obviously, for playoff hopes for USC. A bunch of other rivalry games, and it should be an outstanding weekend of football coming up here. But before we talk the upcoming weekend of football, I got to tell you, there's a big upcoming Thursday game now between a red-hot team in your neck of the woods, Mr. Knish, another winning cover for your Lions.
Battle of Super Bowl contenders this Thursday in Detroit, baby. Listen, we're one game away that we blew late in Minnesota away from being actually alive in this division. I still think we're probably a little too far away, and it would have to go on a real hot run here. But hey, I'll take the win. I'll take the covers. And we got the Rams pick who are in total free fall mode, so we can get a quarterback anyway. So, yeah, nice to see us go. Wish we would have got that Minnesota game early in the year so could have a real second half sweat here.
Did you bet over the win total like everybody else did?
Did I bet? What do you think? Did I bet over the win? I watched 5 minutes of Hard Knocks, and I got in the car and drove down and put some more on the win total. So, yes, I have some of the square play on the win total, which I thought was dead on the vine there for a little bit, but a couple of wins here. And this division is terrible. I mean, I don't regret my, the preseason division bet. The Vikings have gotten so fortunate to be where they are. And as you said, it's not a great team. There's no good team in this division. So, yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't get a couple of those early games and really be in it. But hey, we'll take a couple of results here and bring out Buffalo, baby.
There you go. And obviously Minnesota fortunate in quite a few games as well. Maybe their luck finally dried up on Sunday as they got
in a big way. All in one
exposed. Game. Yeah. Let's talk best bets. Unfortunately, another 0-2. I would like to say, hey, just absolute terrible pick. Some of it's just bad variance. Bo Nix injury hurts us in the total of the Oregon-Utah game. And both teams move the football. Turnovers cost both teams, to be honest with you, in that one. And then, UCLA, shame on Chip Kelly for trying to ice a kicker early. That was 3 points there. But I would say USC was probably the right side, even though they were +3 in turnovers, but still had a shot there at the end. And, DTR picked a fine time to play. I know he's banged up, but he's still, even before being banged up, I didn't think he played that well. So UCLA loses by a half point as far as the cover there. Any quick thoughts on those two games?
I thought Cam Rising didn't play. You know what? And you've seen team like Utah who cannot recruit the way year over year. They had a kind of a dream run last year. And you just saw it come back to, they don't have guys on the outside. I mean, you saw Kincaid, they're trying to got 15 targets. They have nobody that can, and it's an Oregon pass defense that struggled week in, week out in this conference. And they had nobody on the out. They don't have the speed to test them. And Rising wasn't very good, but they, even though Knicks played, I think the number got back up there. Again, we got a little bit of bad variance, but I don't think that, I'm not saying it was, like a lock over or anything. If they Utah didn't move the ball well enough. Just it's simply, they don't have the playmakers on there to expose the Oregon's weakness. So yeah, it was an underwhelming effort from Utah's offense, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, what Utah is pretty much a 9-3 program. I mean, even last year's team, keep in mind, lost 4 games. So, I mean, counting the Rose Bowl. So, I mean, even that dream season, they still lost to the likes of BYU and San Diego State. So, they are what they are. Recruiting does matter, folks, especially when you get a more competitive and the Washingtons, the Oregon States are better. USC's improved. Obviously, Oregon's better than what they were. So, it's tough to run the table with that kind of talent. So, you're right. And I think Cam Rising is a little bit banged up, too. I don't think he's 100% healthy. Let's talk a few other games. Teams that impressed us, teams that didn't. I could have went either way on this one as far as who impressed and who didn't. I'll be positive. I'm going to go with South Carolina, most impressive team. A team that I did not expect I mean, the market didn't think they'd be close at all. I thought the number was a little high. Shame on me for not betting it, but there were some worries that Tennessee would try to run it up like they did the week before. We had to worry about South Carolina running up on Tennessee as the Gamecocks cover a point spread by almost 6 touchdowns. So Spencer Rattler played like the 5-star, best game of his career, even going back to Oklahoma. I love the aggressive play calling for South Carolina. Defensively, Tennessee was completely lost the whole game. And then obviously at the end, I mean, they were already heading towards a straight-up loss. When Hendon Hooker gets hurt, he's out for the season. We will get to that at the end of the show as far as how much we think he's worth. But South Carolina, big thumbs up, especially 1 week after they get pummeled by Florida and people are questioning whether Beamer's going to make it or not. Well, I mean, he gets a signature win.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I thought Tennessee would stroll through the rest, especially with the way South Carolina had looked of late.
Yep.
I didn't think there'd be any scenario here where Tennessee would be taking a straight up loss there. And what can you say? I mean, Rattler, like as you said, I mean, he's a guy I've been down on for really his whole career. He threw a ton of beautiful deep balls. They challenged Tennessee in the right way, downfield. And got enough stuff. I mean, that's kind of the formula there. If you could, I didn't think that if they were going to beat them, they would beat them in that fashion of basically out Tennessee there, dropping a 60 spot. A week after they 6 points for floor, like that. That's one of the most unexpected. The way it played out and everything was wild results of the season. One that I never saw coming. Even if South Carolina would be competitive, I didn't think they would win outright by 30. Just Tennessee there. Defense just completely broke down for a lot of that game, and they're out. And now, I mean, playoff picture. Depending on what happens, get a little crazy. If USC loses or TCU loses. One of those spots can be wide open. So the picture got a little murkier, and everybody, I mean, almost every contender this weekend was challenged.
No question about that. And we're going to get to that here in a second. And we'll break down at the end as far as playoff and Heisman. I think Heisman's pretty clear between two guys right now at this point. Whoever performs better down the stretch, Stroud or Williams, is going to win the Heisman as far as I'm concerned. Let's stay in the SEC. Another team that impressed, second week in a row. Kudos to Vanderbilt. They outright upset Florida, legitimate. Florida was playing from behind. If you look at the box score, you might say, Florida maybe should have won. Nah, watching the game, I mean, Vanderbilt was in game control almost the whole game, and Florida got a lot of yardage late. So Clark Lee's doing a great job there. They get the 5 wins. They're playing for bowl eligibility. He mentioned that even in the post game. That was prior to Tennessee going down. Market loves Vanderbilt already, not only the Hendon Hooker injury, but my goodness, we'll talk more about that spread. It's almost shockingly low, to be honest with you. Vanderbilt, 5 wins. There was WinBet that opened their season win total at 1.5.
I remember this. Yes.
Did you get that? Because I didn't do it quick enough.
I did not either. Because I remember I actually had to play some 2.5 later in this. I wasn't able to get the WinBet special there, but I don't know. There's a shot here. I agree with you that when I saw that open 14 at Circa, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this. But if Milton doesn't play well and Tennessee kind of walks in there like everything that was put in front of them now is out the door, and kind of you get who knows, you could get a Vandy here running the table to the SEC. And I agree with you. There was I was waiting. That took some money last week, and I was kind of waiting on 14 and a half on Vandy. Grab some of that because I thought I was more of a Florida fade. I didn't think they'd actually win outright, but what can you say? Like Mike Wright, you know what? I was always on the Mike Wright bandwagon. I agree that he didn't play well. I'm surprised that an athlete like that they felt like they could, switch quarterbacks or something. So he's been more accurate in the past. He obviously gives them, a weapon in the run game. So Clark Lee, Barton Simmons, the GM or whatever they're doing over there. Yeah, obviously it's on the come up there for Vandy. So that was a nice win. And who knows, baby? Rivalry game. We'll see this weekend if they can put Tennessee to the fire.
As always, don't forget to hammer that like and subscribe button. Thanks, Crestman. Thanks, boss. I'll slip you the 20. That was in the weeds. A Barton Simmons reference. I gotta tell you, since he left, they missed him at 247 since he left. I don't necessarily always agree with their player evaluations now that he left, but they're doing a great job there. Back-to-back outright upsets. We might as well just get into it quickly since we just mentioned the two games. I mean, I came into Sunday morning thinking Vanderbilt going to be my top play. I can't wait to bet Vanderbilt. Tennessee's going to be flat as a pancake. Hooker's out. Vanderbilt's going for bowl eligibility. You know what number I thought I was going to get? 21. I thought I was going to get 21. I mean,
yeah, no,
as downgrade Tennessee. I mean, keep in mind, just a couple weeks ago, South Carolina was laying 6.5 at Vanderbilt. Last week, Tennessee was laying 22.5 at South Carolina. So I'm thinking, well, I mean, South Carolina's better. I mean, if Hooker's healthy and everything's good, what's Tennessee laying at Vanderbilt? 28? All right, Hooker's out, touchdown. No. I ended up betting Tennessee. I was like, 14. Jesus. I just lay 14. I mean, we'll see. Market kind of disagrees with me. So
there's obviously, it got up there 16.5, 17. Then the Hooker news, but I thought that that was kind of one of those, like, the Hooker news broke, but it was one of the, if you like kind of watched the game and saw right, like it was obvious that like he was not going to play this weekend. So I can't get. I think it's one I'll just end up passing on now that it's gotten back down. I know that. Listen, I love the story and the Vandy and but. I can't get to. I mean, they just gave up 450 yards to Florida, and I get Joe Milton downgrade, but as a guy, I think he, as a guy who I was thoroughly unimpressed with at Michigan, he fits this system better and what he can do in Tennessee. So if you're getting any type of Tennessee team that wants to show up this weekend, the number's real short. But yeah, it's got to be it's a no play for me where it's at now.
Yeah, he's very hit or miss. He could look just as impressive as Hendon Hooker or go out and throw 4 or 5 picks, and you're going to lose. I mean, they could lose by – it's a very high-variance game.
Yeah,
for sure. I'll put it that way. I could easily see Vanderbilt winning. Outright, I could see Tennessee winning by 4 touchdowns, no problem. So I just got to play numbers, and, 1 of 50 bets. Who cares? I just, bet Tennessee, not like it's best bet material. In the chat, could Corum get the Heisman with a 300-yard, 3-touchdown type of game? Yeah, sure, but – is he going to play? I don't know. If he plays, is he going to be 100%? We'll get to that game and break that down here in a second. Ohio State Michigan. That's – I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. So let's break down a few other teams that impressed. Navy. Market loves Navy the last 3-4 weeks. Not just the outright upset against UCF last weekend. Loved them against – hell, they almost beat Notre Dame. They played very competitive against Cincinnati. They're playing with a backup quarterback. I know you're a big fan of triple option football. Army-Navy is going to be interesting. It looked like Army will go for bowl eligibility, and Navy's playing their best ball. So, that game at least gets a little bit more interesting, but probably not.
I jumped off the Navy train too early. I was riding a few weeks there, took it, and then the UCF, I was like, you know what? You're talking about such an athlete discrepancy there. I can't believe they lost. Also, huge impact. If you look, the American has this stupid-ass system for how they, determine who's good. So, the winner of Tulane-Cincy this weekend now gets into the title game and hosts it. Where it was UCF, all they had to do was win that, and they were getting in. Now, Tulane-Cincy winner is in and hosts it, and then the number 2 team is, the highest ranked that's left between the bottom seeds.
It'll probably be UCF if they beat South Florida.
Yeah, so I agree. Because
who knows? It's got Gus Malzahn special, and I'm here to tell you, USF looked impressive. They had a freshman quarterback come in, and he looked lights out. So that's not a gimme, a rivalry game. It should be a 20-point favorite, and I see Mr. Muscles was on UCF earlier today. Popped that up. I'm actually leaning towards South Florida, to be honest with you. So I thought they were very creative play calling on Thursday night. That is very interesting to see that. It's also interesting. We'll get into that game. It looks like Cincy might be without their quarterback. So we'll see how the market ends up pricing that one out. A couple more teams I want to get to, and then I'll see if you got any others. Obviously, you mentioned at the top, a lot of the big-name teams struggled. So, therefore, you had to like what you see from a lot of the teams that gave them a game. Illinois came ready to play, obviously. Helped that the running back was healthy. Maryland played a very good game, and then Baylor probably should have beaten TCU. So, just thumbs up for all those 3 teams. I'm not going to do a thumbs down on the teams that are going for it. You kind of have one of those weekends every year in college football where the teams at the top kind of struggle. Just so happened it was last weekend. So I guess kudos for them for all three of those teams actually finding a way to win. But was there any other teams that caught your eye?
No, I agree. I mean, Illinois, post-game win expecting and all that, they probably should have won that game. They out-Michigan, and the Corum injury was big there in helping out. But, I mean, in the second half, Michigan couldn't throw, they couldn't, once Corum went out, they didn't have Edwards, they couldn't run the football. Couple of calls that I know Mr. Bielema wasn't too happy with in that one. A little Big Ten special to get 11-0 going up. Yeah, I chalk a lot of that up to you're talking the Georgia game, the Michigan game, the Ohio State game, where teams are kind of going in, they're trying to play as vanilla as possible and just get out of there with a win and get to the big games, and that obviously I think that played a significant factor in a number of those. So yeah, but hey, now we got the steak on tap this weekend. I agree with you that it was nice to see even like Maryland, who I know I had just questioned Mike Lockley's job security about a week ago on this show. Show up and give them a game, because that was a performance that they needed, because they had been trending down. Even in the loss, it's at least they showed a pulse here end of the season.
Need to get a win this week against Rutgers. We'll see what how banged up Tagovailoa is. Doesn't look like he's going to be out. I'll put it that way, at least early in the week as we record this on Monday. One other, I got to mention my alma mater, Bowling Green, outright upset. Toledo, bowl eligible, first time in 7 years. That was last Tuesday. We tape every Monday, so I wanted to throw that in there. They're going for Tuesday night.
They're going for the conference title this weekend, baby. Bowling. Now, is Curtis Rourke playing?
I don't think so. I mean,
I don't know. It didn't look great.
I mean, he was taped up. I mean, big. He was in street clothes. He had like a knee brace and everything on. I don't know. From what I saw, personally, visually, I didn't think I thought he'd be out. So I took a little BG plus 7.5. So we'll see. That would be exciting. Falcon. Then they'd have to play Toledo again, and Toledo would get revenge.
You got to get there to have a chance. So, do you know this scenario where Buffalo is still alive, but they might have to, like, if Bowling Green wins and Buffalo beats Kent, then the Buffalo-Akron game needs to be rescheduled, but it's Saturday, and then the MAC championship's the following Saturday? Like, what are they going to play, like, a doubleheader after, like, well, I don't know how they're going to get that game in. I wouldn't want to have to be making these decisions here if I'm the MAC, but might have to play, like, a Wednesday, Saturday?
Does it have to be played? I thought there was, like, some tiebreaker that they're going to go to that it won't matter. I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the MAC bylaws that far down in a minute.
I will say I did bet Buffalo. I like Buffalo quite a bit because I'm not sure if Schlee plays for Kent State. And I got to tell you, the backup was abysmal for Kent State. 6 straight punts. I mean, they go from basically going to win that game to they lose somehow to Eastern Michigan. I get totally effed because, Eastern Michigan season win total now is I got beat on that. I can't believe they went over their win total, but it is what it is. I beat Arizona State, but 3 touchdown underdog. Unbelievable. Whatever. We're in that week where season win totals, you got to sweat them out. And you always do worse than expected. I'll put it that way. On paper, it looks like, how much money am I going to win this week? And then, you get these 3 touchdown outright upsets. Let's go negative. Teams that didn't impress.
I already saw who's on this sheet, baby. Give it to me.
Yeah, North Carolina. Number one, you play with fire enough. Keep in mind, they came into last week 6-0 in games decided by a touchdown or less. And, Drake May, for the first time this year, didn't have his best stuff. But even if that's the case, totally inexcusable to lose outright as a 3-touchdown favorite to a team playing with a third-string quarterback. Speak of season win totals, I can't believe. A lot of people that I like bet Georgia Tech under 4.5 that I respect. I feel bad for them. How in the hell does Georgia Tech win 5 games this year? They fire their coach, and they go over their season win total. Unbelievable. But more of the negative. North Carolina, Drake May loses any chance that he had the Heisman. North Carolina's, any small chance that they had of going to the playoffs, completely out the window. I just think finally the team gets exposed like what we saw, in the NFL with the Giants and the Vikings on Sunday. North Carolina fit that bill on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean that's just a brute. Again, everything that North Carolina had in front of now. I would the flip side of that is that was not a 9, 10, 11 win team. Is a
Agree.
team that probably should have finished the year 7-5, and they had a lot of good things go their way. And now, if you would have told me that like Jeff Sims played and Georgia Tech had to get, but like the Zach Gibson third string was like one of the worst quarterbacks I've seen this year. I laid some -20 this game, and it was going to script early on. I'm like, oh, it's going to be an absolute blowout, and then come back and lose. That is a rough loss, and as you said, May out, UNC out. No shot for them to get anything done there. I've actually laid some early look ahead stuff in the title game. I think Clemson under a touchdown, if you can find that, is good.
I think it's people are onto it because I looked at it. It was 6. Now it's 7.5.
Yeah, and I think it's
that's probably you that did that.
It was definitely on the move because after that one, it's hard for me to believe that line's going to be less than a touchdown cone, especially with Clemson at least showing somewhat of an offensive pulse there. And again, the UNC they've just been due. They've been due for one of these performances. It's not that great a team. It came back. I'm surprised it happened in that game, but hey, it came back to them.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they'd lose to Wake Forest the week prior, came back there. I mean, I could see him, NC State's, you got, issues at quarterback. You could see him maybe losing a rivalry game. Did not see him losing as a 3-touchdown favorite.
No.
I can say that. Let's give Tripp in the chat some credit. Which Carolina team was worse? East Carolina. I forgot about that one. That was one of the biggest head-scratching finals.
That's another one.
Talk about a bad bet. I laid a little bit with East Carolina because I hate Dana Holgorsen so much. And, East Carolina's been actually a play-on team in the market for several weeks. They just totally no-show. That's a Holton Ahlers special there. Yeah,
that's the Holton Ahlers I know, not the one that, cashing tickets for Cincy playing competitive football. That was the Holton Ahlers that I'm usually used to bet. I don't know. I didn't have a piece of that, but it definitely, it took some steam in the market. As you said, they've been getting respect every single week, and just an absolute no-show burial against a Houston team that I talk about a high. I don't know Holgorsen. Again, as you said, we're not fans of him, but they are such a high variance team with him under staff. So, and technically, I guess still alive for the American title game if enough teams lose. So, yeah, that was a wild one to me. A rough weekend in the Carolinas unless you're in Columbia.
Agree. I mean, because NC State goes down as well. Cressman in the chat. Baylor and Okie State were the stinkers. Baylor, they covered, man. What'd you bet? Money line? I mean, Baylor, that was a cover. Should have gotten home on that one. DraftKings Trip says Clemson's still 7 -120. Yeah, it's going to close north of 7.
Yeah.
I say that and watch freaking South Carolina beat Clemson and it's be downgraded. And North Carolina will beat NC State by 3-4 touchdowns. And, I'll regret that. But I do think it closes north of 7.
Agreed.
So, let's talk another teams. Michigan State.
Oh, here we go.
You want to talk about total collapse. Bowl eligibility is on the line. They're not winning this week against Penn State.
No.
All right, they're not. So basically, you just got to win, get the bowl eligibility. Look, it's a disappointing season, but for what had gone down in the tunnel, I was about ready to go thumbs up. Hey, he rectified the ship a little bit. They were going to win 3 straight games to get the bowl eligibility. I thought it had been an accomplishment considering what that program was at, the day or two after the Michigan game. And they're up 17. They're cruising towards a victory. They're on their home field. They blow the lead. They give up a kick return touchdown. Still got a chance. Chip shot. I mean, you and I could have went out there. I don't care how cold it was, and made that field goal attempt. I'm telling you, they lose a chip shot field goal. Goes to overtime. Then they lose to Indiana as a double-digit favorite. Unbelievable.
A 22-yarder to win it, a 26-yarder in OT that would have won it. Missed them both. I think the lesson here is if you're ever an AD, you don't give a coach a fully guaranteed 10-year contract because it can come back to bite you. And I don't think we've talked about this. I don't think you're right. He kind of righted the ship a little bit. I think the program's in a fine direction, but when you pay for Wagyu and you end up with a cheap New York strip, then you're wondering what happened here. We're paying for this guy to win 10, 11 games a week, and he's not even going bowling. This Indiana team, if you look at the games this team should have won literally like one game this year, and it was
Agreed.
versus Idaho, and they've pulled out of their ass. Like, they beat Illinois in the flukiest fashion. They beat Western Kentucky. They should have lost that
Yep.
game. They beat, and then again this week, Michigan State. Tom Allen, people are like, should Tom Allen be fine? Tom Allen getting these bums to 4 wins is like one of the greatest coaching duos in the league. Like, this team is horrific, and they've somehow been able to slap together 4 wins, 3 of them in ridiculous fashion. So yeah, that is a rough loss for old Sparty there. And again, yeah, I agree with you. The Penn State number, I think that one's taken about a touchdown worth of steam here, going up to north of 18 now.
Yeah, deservedly so. I mean, it opened a little light. I didn't get to it. Some people beat to me. I do not get to all numbers. A lot of people are betting those on Sunday, including you. Yeah, I agree. Speaking of season win totals, I sweat a freaking Indiana season win total under 4.5. I mean, a rivalry game, anything can happen. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Jake. So, I'm right there with you. Unbelievable. You're exactly right. Should be a 1-win team. Got to sweat that. Yeah, well, I don't think they'll beat Purdue. I just don't. Purdue's taking steam, and I think rightfully so in that one. Purdue's still got a shot. But then again, it depends. What if Iowa wins, Iowa goes? Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah, I thought this is a Joey Big Ten West miscalculation. I thought Purdue, if they won, Iowa wins last week, and now they're sitting in. I can't believe this Iowa team could go to the Big Ten championship and be sitting there as a. I know they played a little bit better here down the stretch, but woof, Big Ten West. If that's your representative, not like Purdue's a great team, but at least they can throw a forward pass. So
I bet 3-4 teams in the Big Ten West to win the division, and Iowa wasn't one of them. I'll just put it that way. I did bet Purdue.
Illinois should be. I mean, they are significant. And I'm not just saying this because of the like. I think they're head and shoulders the best team in that division, and they just lost. They just lost the wrong games at the wrong time. So yeah, that again, Bielema. We'll give them the credit for the season they've had. They should be in this championship game, though. Iowa getting there is brutal.
Michigan State and the Purdue game. They got banged up a little bit, but when they play their A game, I agree. They're the best team in the division. Let's go to another team. It's local, at least for me. A coach that probably should be on the hot seat now this week, must win after what happened to them on the islands late last Saturday night, UNLV. But, I mean, look, I've only been to one bowl game in the last 20 years. You got 2 very winnable games to close the season. You've lost 5 consecutive games, although you've been an underdog in all 5, so it's kind of reasonably what's gone on. But you're double-digit favorites. Big line, I kind of mentioned, it's the first time they've been laying, that point spread on the road in 20 years. They can't handle it. Hawaii from start to finish is the right side. UNLV, Marcus Arroyo, they go down. No bowl for them. Got to win this week against Nevada. Otherwise, I'd get rid of them, to be honest with you. By 3 years, you can't make progress. You're out.
No, yeah, I had some, UNLV good numbers, under 10 there, closes up around 11. I expected them healthy to kind of be back here, be able to take care of, a bad Hawaii team. And as you said, Timmy Chang here, guy has Hawaii play. Not that they're, but hey, they've got Hawaii playing some ball here end of the season. So yeah, that I agree.
The last 7 games since the bye,
no doubt,
competitive.
And it's like early in the season, I bet some UNLV like 100-1 Mountain West, 50-1. I thought this is a team they looked like a team that could compete in the conference. Had some injuries, but even now that they've gotten back healthy, haven't really been able to get it going. So yeah, it might be. I don't know. I mean, again, it's UNLV. Do you give them one more year because But yeah, I agree with you. It's about done there.
There's no reason why they don't have. I'm not saying they should be Boise State because they just don't care enough about football here. But I live here. The facilities that they play in, the football facilities now at the Fertitta complex, the local recruiting. You got one of the best high schools just in the entire country right down the road. You can't take some of the guys that don't, aren't 4 and 5 stars, but they're legitimate 3-star kids. California is not that far away. Arizona is not that far away. I mean, there's no excuse why UNLV does not have a consistent bowl-eligible team every year. Just ridiculous. That's terrible. Any other teams? You know what? One more I want to mention. Something to keep an eye on for the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving. At least at the start of the game, Ole Miss didn't look like they're ready to play. And I'm not sure if Lane Kiffin's got one foot out the door. Maybe you got some inside info there. I haven't liked all year what he said in the press about the fans not attending. NIL he complained about. Talked about, he didn't come to Ole Miss to cover point spreads against Alabama. He wanted to win games. I don't know. There's a lot of smoke out there. Are you believing it with Lane Kiffin 1 foot out the door? If that's the case, you got to take Mississippi State, and Mississippi State's the team taking money in the market right now.
Yeah, I mean, now granted, Mike Leach and the history, I know this is a new rival, but I mean, was just absolutely miserable in, when he was at Wazoo against Washington. I know it's not a direct comp there, but it's two programs that, I wish they were playing other teams this weekend so we could fade them instead of playing each other. But it's, I know there's been some Mississippi State money. Again, it's one. Do I think Kiffin would he take an upgrade job? I think he does. I think you're pretty much capped out at what you can do at Ole Miss here with what he's been able to do. And so does someone come calling and and whether it be Texas A&M, if they're going to cut the check to get Jimbo out of there, or Auburn, I think somebody will come looking for him with a number that gets him to a school that you can probably actually compete. I think he's gotten Ole Miss to about the level that you can reasonably expect to be at. So I would guess he's on the move. But as far as the game goes, though, I think it's a pass for me. I can't get behind the Leach train. It's not a guy I've been wanting to wager on for the second half of the season whatsoever. And I don't think I'm going to do it here.
Yeah, too busy recovering. You'd be taking your nap after the big turkey.
I know. I was going to say I don't need that kind of stress after filling up on some leftovers, some egg bowl here.
Yeah, I hear it. Yeah, I'm not too involved there. I see the under took a lot of money today as well. One other game I want to mention from last week before we start previewing the big games. I don't know if a lot of people saw this, but you want to talk about bad beat. If you bet the under in the CalStanford game, total was 46. We're talking Stanford's down 10 points in the final play of the game. David Shaw decides to kick a 61-yard field goal. They make it. The game goes over the total. Stanford loses 27-20. Game goes over. Did you see that?
It's fun because there was no shot for them to act if there's 30 seconds left to make say you can do the onside to the only chance. Yeah, they just kicked at the buzzer. There was no reason to even do. You got no shot to win the game. So. Hey, I don't know, Shaw may be trying to hang on there for the booster, whatever Stanford, tech boosters are out there that might have had a little, teased it up or something, took the over. I don't know what he's doing.
Is he safe?
How much of an appetite really is there at Stanford, they're just especially in the new modern college transfer portal, and I've heard, Bud Elliott, friend of the show, talk about you can't get people from the portal into Stanford whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's a hard people to even get recruited. So you're coaching there with one hand tied behind your back in the new college football. So I don't know. I think he stays. I just don't know how much of an appetite there is at Stanford to be, an elite football program.
Totally agree. He at least gets another year. I mean, no matter how bad it is, I don't know how you do compete there. It's so hard to get, for your classes to transfer over.
Yeah.
And, recruiting is already tough to begin with. And, it's not – California is not big football. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
They don't care that much. The other sports are great there. But, and keep in mind, Stanford for that 10-year period, early Shaw, throughout Harbaugh, that was the outlier, not the normal for the program. What we're seeing now is typically – what Stanford football was for a majority of their time. I know they've had some highs, but not really. So let's break down a big game in Columbus, at least some early thoughts. You got Michigan at Ohio State, 11-0 versus 11-0, number 2 versus number 3. Biggest rivalry in college football. I know people are going to say Iron Bowl. It's Michigan-Ohio State for me. I grew up in Ohio. I'm glad to see it. I mean, with Harbaugh there, up in the ante, Michigan finally winning last year. I got to tell you, though, early gut instinct is I think the number's short on Ohio State. So I know there's a lot of question marks. I'll give you a few. Can Ohio State answer the challenge at the line of scrimmage because they got manhandled last year? That'll be one question. The other question on the Michigan side, not only Blake Corum and his health status, but can J.J. McCarthy attack Ohio State and threaten them vertically down the field. I haven't seen it yet. So, I mean, he's going to have to keep, Ohio State and prevent them from loading up the box. What say you? I mean, I'm leaning towards Ohio State here.
And again, it's a game that, I've been bullish on Michigan's chances all year. I will tell you, though, like, the Michigan injuries go beyond Blake Corum. They were down 2 starting offensive linemen, their 2 starting tight ends, their 2 starting running backs at that point. I mean,
Edwards
their best pass rusher. I mean, it's a team that, now, granted, all of those guys, at least, any of them except Eric All, their original starting tight end, have a shot to play this weekend. I think Corum will play. How effective he'll be, you don't know. And again, this is one that, you're looking at, if there's anything that could go in Michigan's favor, Saturday in Columbus could be a little rainy, could be a little windy. So we'll see there. I mean, obviously, if you're Michigan, you want it to be as the weather to be as ugly as possible. But again, am I leaning to play Ohio State over? It'd be one that, if it could get 7, 6.5, I don't know if it'll go through there. I know a lot of books are hanging
early
that
money's
stuff.
on Michigan.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know there's been some, people are teasing out there, I think Circa as well. They're kind of positioning themselves to take as much Ohio State money as they want at some of the sharper places. Again, it was a game that I was a lot more bullish for most of the season, but the injuries, it'd be one that, and again, you're not going to get, that's why, this isn't like the NFL where you're going to get a clean Michigan injury report on Thursday. You're probably not going to know how healthy Michigan is until 30 minutes before kickoff to see who's warming up, so... And I need to, Corum, Edwards, Schoonmaker, their starting offensive guard, Keegan, who's an NFL player, they need all those guys. So, and we're not going to know until probably 30 or 60 minutes before kickoff how many of them are going to go and then how effective they can be. So, yeah, it would be, it's just going to, it's going to be a wait and see for me. Well, I'll see how the market does, and it'd probably be one if I'm playing it, playing some Ohio State, I'll be looking to see how Michigan is before kickoff. I liked the under there. The number one. Regardless, I think and it's just taking some money. I played some early number. I like the under regardless. I think Michigan is going to go. They have no vertical passing explosiveness. Their system that they're going to run against Ohio State, they installed last year, wants to stop Ohio State from doing that. I think both teams are going to run the ball, and I know Michigan's this is going to be like a triple option pace for them. So I like the under. I'd still play what's the best number out there on this one.
57.5 maybe.
Yeah. If you put 57.5, a penny juice in there, I still like 57.5. I'd play that.
Stephen Robinson agrees with you. And obviously always got weather concerns, and been a lot of weather concerns in the Midwest last couple of weeks I've been watching. So I don't disagree. But I do agree with the kind of wait and see, although I've already bet Ohio State. So I'm actually comfortable with the Ohio State position already. Another big one. Let's go on the other side of the country, out west, one of the later games on Saturday evening. Good rivalry here. Notre Dame, USC. USC 5.5. Total 62.5. Highest total Notre Dame in a Notre Dame game so far this season. Kind of says that it's going to play more of at a USC pace. This is one. I mean, I'll say this: if Notre Dame had an average quarterback, I would have a big bet on Notre Dame. I can't get to the window though. Drew Pine versus Caleb Williams in case it becomes a score for score situation. But I could definitely see, and I want your take on this. I can see Notre Dame mauling SC at the line of scrimmage. I really could. Notre Dame just, win the line of scrimmage, win special teams, win the turnover margin, which is easier said than done against USC, who's number 1 by far in the country in turnover margin. They do those 3 things. I can see Notre Dame winning outright, but I don't know. I didn't get to the window. Did you get to the window on this one? Some early money on Notre Dame.
I know, and you know what? I was really looking for to see, 7. It never was there. It got steamed down. I tend to agree with your analysis there in terms of can Notre Dame's offense really keep up? Like USC, and again, you talk about, spot, huge rivalry game off UCLA, Notre Dame with a layup off Boston College. This is kind of, the game, like the games that Notre Dame has really shown up in, against more premium offenses and premium teams here where they can control the line of scrimmage. However, it's a USC offense that, that just nobody can. I mean, even where the UNCs, the Ohio States have been slowed down. Like, it is a USC offense that's not like is just when their guys are healthy at receiver, they just can't be like held to under 30 points here. So can Notre Dame do that? Can they hit that 31, 34 number? I don't know. It's tough for me to see. So I agree. I'm not gonna. I especially after the early steam, it's just gonna be a pass. Honestly, if this even got down a little lower, I might even look for some USC.
I agree. Here's a surprising stat for you though, because a lot of people, can Notre Dame, and I just mentioned it too. Can they go score for score? Notre Dame has scored at least 35 points in 5 straight games. First time they've done that since 1943. So that's surprising. They're still terrible. They still got terrible quarterback. Brandon Joseph healthy and playing for Notre Dame. Not sure. He's questionable. So their safety's questionable. Cam Hart got hurt. He's questionable. Starting quarterback for Notre Dame. Not a good look, folks. So I agree with Knish. Let's see, because I think Notre Dame's going to be the sharp side as far as the professionals. Let's see how low this gets. I'm going to fade it, I think, by the end of the weekend and take a position on USC there. And I got to tell you, as being a Notre Dame fan, the Pac-12 desperately needing a team in the playoff, let's just say Notre Dame is not going to get 50-50 calls in that game. Not saying that there's anything nefarious, but if it's 50-50, it's going to SC. I'll just tell you that much. I've seen enough of those games in the Coliseum in my lifetime. Another big game. Stay out west. Civil War. Well, you can't call that anymore, whatever. Oregon State. Oregon wins. They're in the Pac-12 championship game. Obviously a dangerous opponent here. Numbers 3.5. I took a position last week with the Bo Nix stuff. Willie Hill still had this line. They were trading it at 7. I was betting Oregon State, and then they took it off the board. So sorry for that to be the case there. But that's my only position on this one. I didn't take one on Sunday at Circa on the openers. I thought it was pretty fair. We've seen a little bit of money on Oregon here. Did you get involved in this one? And look, just because we're mentioning the biggest games, you can probably tell Knish and I don't necessarily think that they're the greatest value opportunities, the biggest games of the week.
No, I agree. A lot of these, especially this one, hammering up. I think 3 is real fair on where this at. Bo Nix, obviously, ton of rumors out there with his health last week. Number was all over the place. Looked fine. I didn't really see a lot of disparate impacts from his performance. It wasn't the greatest game he's ever played, but I didn't see anything that made me think like, oh my God, he's really going to struggle in this one. Oregon State, team that's been playing competitive football, for the most part of the year. Thought even after I take some shit from this, in a group chat I'm in, the Goldberson guy, I didn't think he was very good coming in. He's replaced Chance Nolan. He's been, a decent player. This is another one, though, where, kind of how Utah, goes up against Oregon, and then you're just seeing another level of talent that Oregon has compared to Oregon State. If I would lean laying the 3 here now that it's got down. I agree with your play at the 7.
As we did this show today, the 3.5's got all taken out. Somebody's betting Oregon State right now.
Yeah, so I honestly it'd be one that if a place, I'll be probably on the lookout. If a place drops through 3, I'll be in on the 2.5. I think I'm gonna wait to see if I can catch somebody goes to see want to flash a 2.5, see if somebody's going to buy it up. Hopefully I'm by the screen and I can get it. So that's what I'd be looking at for the Oregon. I think any of that early. If you were looking at the beef side, I think all that value's been ate up.
Yeah, I agree. And there. So let's get one more in the AAC before we get to some more high value games, in my opinion. At least more valuable. Tulane, Cincinnati, winners in and hosting the conference championship game the very next week. Injury concerns for Cincinnati. Quarterback Ben Bryant gets hurt last week. I don't think Evan Prater's that big of a downgrade. Evan Prater's the highest rated recruit as far as the quarterbacks in the history of Cincinnati. He's a 4-star kid. So I'm not sure that he's as big of a downgrade as the market's treating it, although I don't really like Cincinnati as a team. This team's only covered a few games against FBS competition this year. Tulane looked like a machine coming off the loss against Central Florida. They just annihilate SMU on a short week last week. Are you part of the early Tulane money here, taking it from 3 to 2 at Circa on the open?
No, honestly, I've got in my position. I've got a big Tulane number and a couple of prices actually to win the AAC. So I'm going to be sitting here in the basement praying praying to the AAC guy, the football gods here, that Tulane can win this outright. I will say, I don't know that it's a quarterback downgrade for Cincinnati. I could even tell that you could convince me that it's a slight upgrade with his mobility and that Ben Bryant not been good this year. I think he's been, the central factor around why Cincinnati has been so poor relative to their market pricing. Hey, listen, I agree with you. I'm not going to tell you that. And again, it's the backup who, and now, granted, you go from Temple where he looked okay. He made some running plays with his legs and some throws. There's a much different defense that they're going to be playing in Tulane this week. All I could tell, I would have, hey, listen, I agreed with the Tulane early money at 3 or even a couple of smatterings of 3.5. Right now, I think the number's probably where it should be, and I'll just be sitting here praying for a green wave victory, and then we can host the title down in Louisiana. But I really, you mentioned, I mean, it's gonna come down to the new Cincy quarterback, how he can play. If he's an upgrade, if he can play, then Cincinnati obviously I think has the more talented team. But again, it's been a year where they've just struggled at that position all year, so we'll see.
I'll say this: Crestman in the chat likes Tulane. I lean Cincy. I'll say underrated thing that I think gets overlooked. Cincinnati has a super long home win streak. Keep in mind they sell out all their games. The American teams aren't used to playing in front of 40,000 sold out crowds. So sometimes I've seen it with false start penalties with a lot of teams. They're not used to handling that. Not used to seeing those types of crowds on a week in and week out basis. So keep an eye on that. I'm going to lean Cincy. I'll go contrarian a little bit from what the market has so far. Other big games, rivalry games, quickly. South Carolina, Clemson. I can tell you I took South Carolina plus 16. I just thought 16 was a little high. I know I'm not, you're overreacting to what you just saw last, but no, I mean, I'm not buying Clemson. I'm not buying the ACC. I don't want to lay a ton of points. ACC versus SEC. Clemson did look. I thought Clemson had one of their better performances. I know Miami stinks, but they beat them worse in the final, especially what they did to Miami's offense. So, did you take early position? It seemed to me like I wasn't the only one betting South Carolina yesterday.
No, I mean we didn't even include Miami in the hula. We've included them so many in the hula, and then in the negative section this week, it's almost apathy at this point. But I didn't take it. You know what? I this game feels a little like the Vandy, Florida, where you get this like, oh, they won. There's just kind of this like mentality that like, oh, we're gonna have this come down after the big victory and that. But they're playing a Florida team, and then the number gets up there, and you're like, I think this number's too high. This Florida team isn't very good. You kind of come into this week now catching over 2 touchdowns. I actually had a game a year position on this. That's right about where it's at current. I think it was like plus 15 or plus 15.5 I took before the season. I thought Clemson would be a little down, South Carolina would be it up. Didn't really play out that way until like last week with South Carolina. But I agree. I think over 2 touchdowns. Shane Beamer's a guy that can, if there's one thing, I think he can get the team up back to back. Hopefully Rattler can kind of, piggyback off last week's performance. And yeah, it's a Clemson team that I don't like in these spots. Their offense isn't elite enough to be laying these kind of numbers against teams that can, pass the ball, which, I wouldn't have said mostly South Carolina wasn't, then last week shows up. So yeah, if I had to play a side right now, it would be South Carolina over the 2 TDs.
I forgot to mention the Iron Bowl as far as one of the marquee games. I just look. Normally, it's one of the biggest games. Alabama's out of the national title picture this year.
Cadillac covered machine.
Yeah. All right. So you're betting Auburn? I would say this. I'd wait if you want to bet Auburn. I think you're going to get a better number. I think it's going to go to 24. I laid 21. Thinking it'll go up. So far, so good. But Bryce Young, there's injury question marks about him. How motivated is Alabama? Auburn's playing very spirited for Cadillac Williams, to say the least. Market was against Auburn last week. Sometimes something to put in your back pocket. Market gets way too cute.
Those CUSA. Yeah, those CUSA. Those are they just like stepping into a bear trap every year with those teams. That
my God, UAB against LSU. You see it every year. My dumb ass, I took advantage of the LSU UAB game.
That was a good call on your end last week. You were right.
I I got line value, CLV. Whoa, wow, the Holy Trinity, CLV, plus 7.5. Give me my trophy with Western Kentucky. I mean, not close. I won't do that again, to be honest with you. I'm going to actually look now because I've seen so many times to play again. The market just gets way too cute with some of these teams that statistically look so great, but they haven't played anybody. Auburn, I know they're going to give a spirited effort. What can they really do it offensively? Can they keep pace with Alabama here? You're on Auburn, I take it.
I'm just having a tough time stomaching this laying this kind of number with what Alabama's offense has been of late, and it's never gotten like. It's just never got, we talk about this like, it's like with the Packers offense in the NFL, and you're like, when is this team going to, just at some point after 8, 9, 10 weeks, like, it's just not a good offensive team. They just haven't been able to put it together. It's the play calling, the wide receivers. So to be laying this kind of number versus a team that has a good defensive front that I think can contain the run game, Gibbs isn't, 100%, so I just don't want to lay. I agree with you just from, a market numbers perspective. I'm not, running to the window to back Auburn. I'm not ready, to lay 3 touchdowns here with Alabama against a team with, some defense with a pulse. I'm just not there with that. So,
okay,
probably going to be a pass for me in this one, too.
2 more I want to mention, bigger games. Interesting to see if you took a position. On Friday night, actually a really good game, I think, on a Friday night ABC. Florida State, 2 teams heading in opposite directions, at least a little bit here. I actually, look, I love Florida State. I've been betting Florida State for several weeks. I just thought it was going to be a buy low, sell high position, and I want to take Florida, believe it or not, but I need at least 10. I'm not sure it's going to get there, but I mean, how could you not like what you've seen from Florida State the last 4 weeks? I mean, they're up to like number 8 in my power ratings. I mean, this is a top 10 caliber team. That being said, I think Florida, after the loss against Vanderbilt, we'll at least play a spirited effort. I think you'll get there, but I don't know. Anthony Richardson leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, this is actually one of the. I know we've talked almost all the big games. Haven't had a position. This one actually took an early position. Bet some Florida State.
There you go.
Some guys I wanted, especially I bet with. We're bullish on this where it was at under this number. So was trying to buy up as much the early Florida State. I agree. I thought this was one that should be double digits and had and 2 teams kind of that have been relatively trending. And again, Florida made this case when it bet Vandy. I thought their body of work of late, even though they had got a couple covers, Texas A&M, and it had been relatively fraudulent. And it's a team that I thought, would kind of come down opposite, 2 teams trending in opposite directions. So I like Florida State under 10, and we won that. I would wait. I think this number keeps going, and I would need definitely at least 11 or so before I'm started looking the Florida way.
So you going best bet Florida State?
See, the pro. All
right.
Yeah, I know. See, that's where we're at 9 and
we need to win, man.
I know. We play. I don't want to, they give out stuff that we weren't betting there. So I've got a couple other scummy ones that I like better.
All right. As we're talking, I see Circa went USC 6. Not that we influenced that one. So that's the first time I've seen a pro USC position in the market there. So some other places trading 5. It's not going to stay 5. A dead number. It's either going 4 or 6 as far as I'm concerned there. You want some best bets? How about I have Florida State plus 6? You like that position from the summer? I tweeted this. I think I have 4 games with more than 2 touchdowns. And I won't go 4-0 either. That's what's the sad part. I'm praying for better than 2-2, to be honest with you. One other game I want to mention. Anxious to see if you took a position because we saw these wiped out early this morning. I'm wondering if you're behind it. Iowa State was plus 10.5 against TCU. Now it's 10 at most books. Were you part of that line movement this morning?
Yeah, actually, there was even some 11s popping last night out there. I took that. TCU 10 straight week they're playing. They're already there's a few of these games where the teams are locked into the conference title game, especially this game, against. And I know they've got the playoff in front of you. You can't you can't just take the week off. But but it's a scenario where Matt Campbell has been elite in these games where he's catching double digits, and you can play kind of an ugly game, muck it up. So Yeah, I think even though I don't know who's I can't read that who's still on the. I think 10.5, especially if you can get that whatever book that is.
Who can bet DraftKings? All the accounts are locked. My account's locked. What the hell?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, yeah. You change your
half.
password immediately if you got to. But yeah, I think I like double digits in this game, especially if you're getting 10.5 in that. It's just a scenario. Again, TCU in the conference title, 10th straight game they've played. Matt Campbell been great in these positions. Just lower total. It's just one of those scenarios that I think getting over that was worth the bet.
All right, best bet time. Do you have one? I have one. I wanted your thoughts on.
You want me to go first here on that?
I'll let you go. You lead.
I'm gonna go, and this is we'll go into the Joey K Fun Belt action here. I'm gonna go. I laid it with App State. I laid 4. They're still 4.5. 4.5 minus 5. Honestly, is a and I know some people are gonna use the bowl narrative with Georgia Southern. It's a team that. Last week, Van Treese, there was rumors all the week that he wasn't going to play. He ended up playing. I'm telling you, he was not right. He did not play well. They ran the ball more than normal. And this is a matchup against one of the best rushing team in the Sun Belt versus the worst rush defense. And it's a Georgia Southern rush defense that let Marshall run all over him. And I'll tell you, it's App State's run defense, rivalry game here, so I don't think I'm going to have to worry about like motivation or any of that stuff on App State's point of view. And it's just a Georgia Southern team. I think they played over their head for a lot of the season. They're missing 2 of their top 3 wide receivers. The quarterback is not right. Their run defense is real bad. I think App State puts it on them here. I think you're talking about 2 teams. Again, Clay Helton got a lot of credit early in the season for the job he did taking over this change in the system and all that. I think the bottom's falling out here late in the season, and it's an App State team that even though they haven't been up to their standard in some games, they still have more talent than any team in the Sun Belt, just player to player. And against some of these bottom feeders here, I think they run them out. I agree. I think App State just runs them out here. So anything, honestly, I thought this should be more around a touchdown. I like 4.5 there as a best bet.
Circa opened 6. I didn't bet it.
Someone bet it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, somebody took Georgia Southern. I turned around and laid it. So I'm with you. I made this bet yesterday. I laid the 4.5. And then it went down to 4. I was like, well, you got to be kidding me. Is somebody hurt for App State? Why is this not moving towards 7? Let me ask you about the total. I mean, I disagree. I mean, it's up to 61. I saw it because I was involved last week with Georgia Southern more than I should have with the information not being – 100%.
I agree with you. We got some of the same info there. There was a little bit of a sweat when you saw him walk out for the coin toss.
I was like, holy hell, I bet way too much on Marshall here. But it is what it is sometimes. Let's see how it happens. Thankfully, came home there. But I watched it with a keen eye, and I agree. He's not right. So how's this total 61? I mean, this is not the Georgia Southern offense from earlier this season. Not only is Van Treese hurt, they've lost like 4 or 5 guys for the season at the skill positions, running backs, wide receivers. I agree with the App State. I won't double up on it, but under 61, I think is a decent bet to make too. They're treating it. I know on circa 61.5. I don't agree with that. I know the over has been bet every single week on Georgia Southern. It's not the same team as earlier this year, so. Under for me there as well. Not a best bet. Don't mark that down. We got enough on App State there. If they win 62-0, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stay in the Sun Belt. Interested to see your take on this one. If we can get 3, I want to lay it on the road to Southern Miss. Team going for bowl eligibility. I think it's important. Second-year coach. I like the culture of this program because last year they could have waved the white flag and they didn't. At the end of the year, they gave everything they had to win a couple games. Look, they lost 3 straight games, but 2 of them were against the better teams, Coastal and South Alabama. They covered both games, so I don't think the bottom's dropped off at all on this Southern Miss team. They've had one really bad game. That was against Georgia State. Out of their 11 games, go look at it. That's their one bad performance. So for a team that's 5-6, they've been relatively consistent. UL Monroe's been an overachiever, I will say, with Terry Bowden his first 2 years. But I think there's some value because they beat Georgia State 2 weeks ago in a game that they were outgained by 250 yards. So I think that inflates their perception a little bit. I'm going to lay it on the road. I think they have everything to play for Southern Miss. I made it 4. I mean, I know that doesn't sound like much of a discrepancy, but when you're coming off 3 with a relatively lower total, I'm going to lay the 3. You disagree?
No, I'm with. I think they've upgraded at quarterback with Trey Lowe. I think that their offense, he gives them more of an explosive factor, more of a downfield passing game. And that's the thing, like the quarterbacks they were playing for most of the year, like these were guys that like could barely complete forward passes and get anything. So this has given them kind of a new element. Now I agree with you, and I totally with Terry. I can't believe that. Sometimes these coaches get hired and they're like Terry Bowden, like having ULM play over their head. It's like what is how does this happen? But I agree, But no, I'm with you there. That I liked it at 3 or better. I played some 3, still a decent amount of 3 out there. And I agree. They're getting kind of juiced up now, but you can find some flat 3. And it's a Southern Miss team. Been buying it on for a few weeks. I think there's no reason to stop now. Even like that was a game that I mean, I know they kicked the field goal for the late cover there. That was a game that they should have been in. And it was a 1-score game as the right side all the way. And the late explosive play there that they gave up. Flat 3. I'm totally with you here. A couple of nice double dip here in the Sun Belt.
Fair enough. Any other games? Let me throw one at you. I think it's getting out of range now, but I think it could close higher if Schlee gets ruled out.
Yeah.
Well, has everything to play for. Kent State has nothing, and it could be with a backup quarterback. Would you still lay 4 with Buffalo?
You know what? Now it's to the point where, first of all, totally agree with you. I'd like to be honest with you, I liked it to begin with, even if he's playing at the early numbers. Now at 4, if Schlee's out though, I mean, we're talking about the backup they've put in there just like has no shot. So it's one of those I think QB downgrades that the market isn't pricing in enough when you're not, because obviously you don't have a lot of info, don't have a lot of data on these backup quarterbacks. But this is one that I think is more in like the 6, 7, 8 point downgrade range for Kent State there. And so if he doesn't play, now again, getting info out of these MAC programs, like getting the stuff out of the Syria, but so I don't know. It'd be one that I would still, if he doesn't play, it's the one you can probably if he doesn't play, I totally would still lay it. And if I laid some just early, like just on the chance that he might not play, because then I think this line should be up towards a touchdown if he's out.
And also, I mean, look, maybe Buffalo doesn't have a chance at the division, depending on, because the Ohio BG game, if Ohio wins, Ohio's going to win the division. But still, at 5-5 with the game canceled last week, second-year coach, important to get to a bowl. I think it's still important to get to 6-5 and get the bowl eligibility for a team. So, I like Buffalo quite a bit there. Again, you can find there's 3.5s out there. Again, I think there's at least a 50. I think at the very best, Schlee is 50-50.
Yeah.
So you got a 50-50 chance of having a really good bet. And so 3.5, I think is, I'm not saying it's a best bet, but I think it's worth taking position. I'll just put it that way. Number would only go up as far as I'm concerned. Any other games catching your eye?
You know what? A couple on the Friday night slate that I thought it was. This was. I saw one of our. If you listen to a friend of the show is in the Hammer family, the Circle's Off. They were giving shit about the JJ Gruden guy who's on like TikTok and Twitter for having a bunch of stupid takes. He tweets out how can Eastern Michigan only be a 1 point for like literally an hour after that. Central Michigan gets steamed and now they're the favorite. I like Central there. Listen, I'm not gonna be. I played a little bit like it. Still played money line here. They were like, they were +1 last night or this morning. Now they're, -1 some places, even up to -2 at circa in that. I still like it at -1. I think you're just getting the better, more talented team here. I'm not going to let a game in the snow in a freaking blizzard, versus Western Michigan and the rivalry game throw me off here. I just think you're getting the significantly better team there at basically a pick. 2 I wanted to ask you about is the Mountain West kind of meaningless game before the conference finals here with against a couple teams that have been playing better here down the stretch, getting over 2 touchdowns. So it's Boise, who's got Utah State playing much better, coming in, laying 16.5 here. The other one I'm a little bit more bullish on too is Wyoming Fresno. 2 TDs here. Now, both those teams already locked up their spot. Both, Wyoming and Utah State playing better football down the stretch. Where do you have anything on those? Kind of what's your take there? I've considered, I'm kind of waiting to see where the number goes, but I've considered just fading both, just as kind of what I think will be kind of pretty vanilla efforts there in those games.
In square fashion, I laid both favorites, but hear me out. I laid 14 with Boise State. I think if you can get a 17 on Utah State, I think you'll be okay there. Willie Hill, Caesars, 17. I just was playing a number when I laid 14. I made it 16. So, again, if you can take 17, I'm not going to disagree with that position. Why bet Fresno State? I get it. Wyoming can muck things up. They're a team with a lower total you want to take the points with. Not a lot of people probably watched it. If you want Wyoming, you've got to make sure Peasley plays for him at quarterback.
Yes, I agree.
Because that kid that played they almost beat Boise outright. I have no idea how. He was 3 out of 16 for like 30 yards and 3 interceptions. He's as bad as a quarterback as I've seen in college football all season. I've seen a lot of bad quarterback play. You cannot – Boise State likes to run and play right into the hands of Wyoming. Fresno won't do that. So if Peasley plays, bet Wyoming. If he doesn't, I only want Fresno. So off that chance that Peasley doesn't play, I did lay it with Fresno.
No, that makes sense. Again, that's another one. Good data point there. Something to monitor. I was hoping it was going to be short term, but again, Mountain West very similar to the MAC. Tough to get info on a lot of these, so something to monitor there as just to be on the lookout before the game's played. Yeah,
the biggest positive of me moving to Vegas, other than it being Vegas, but I can stay up and watch some of these games. I honestly do not think the market watches Pac-12 late or Mountain West games. They just don't. Even professional bettors, they go to sleep, don't watch that stuff. I just see it. I mean, I find myself I'm betting more Pac-12 Mountain West teams than ever before, something I wasn't doing when I was living on the East Coast. Any other games? Are we just going to stick with 2 or you want another one? Or no, we did 3. Central, you're going to count Central Michigan? Playing the 1?
Yeah, give me the chip. Fire up chips, baby, for the best bet.
Yeah,
I like that one
there.
Good. I think they take
and
care
keep
of
in mind, Eastern Michigan had a quarterback go down. Now, Powell's played a lot, but I have no problems fading that damn team. They've been an enigma for me this year. I think they're overrated. So I like that. Although the Michigan MAC championship on the line in that one? That's pretty big. You should know that. You live right there.
No, the Toledo's already clinched.
No, I'm talking the Michigan title between between the directional schools. Is that on the line? That's pretty big.
The Western. How do they decide that? If Central, I'm not up on my directional hypothetical.
Never mind. I think Western won it.
Yeah.
Western won it because they beat Central. I'm thinking. I forgot because the market just went haywire on Central last week. Played in snow. Bad data point. I agree with you. I like your handicap there. I'm trying to think if I could find another one here. Not that I've been. I've been pulling the show down. So
what another Friday? What are you? This is one I know. There was even some look aheads that were real. The Iowa Nebraska. I played a lot of Nebraska last week when Casey Thompson got ruled in, and I'm not going to tell you they looked fantastic. But again, I know this is 2 teams that like Iowa's got championship berth here. Yeah. Nebraska's really got nothing. Does that maybe Nebraska doesn't show up and they get absolutely bombed here? 11 Iowa laying 11. I know their best player Sam Laporta's ruled out for this one. 11 is really rich for me.
I laid 9 on the open.
Okay.
I hear you. It's not ideal. I've also played under, so I laid more than a touchdown with Iowa, and I bet under 42.5. But number and the markets agree with me so far. I don't know. If I saw the current numbers, let's just say this: if I saw 10.5 and 38, I would not have bet either side or total. So I have positions, but I'm not willing to continue with those positions. I just, from a line aspect, I think Iowa and Wisconsin are relatively close. Maybe Wisconsin, I don't know about your power ratings, maybe Wisconsin's a point better or so than Iowa, 1.5. Wisconsin at Nebraska last week, I know there's quarterback question marks and maybe the market didn't get ironed out before that, but they were laying doubles on the road, and Iowa was laying, when I made that bet on Sunday morning, Iowa at home was laying singles. I just think there was a discrepancy there.
Nope, that's fair. That's fair. One more to throw at, and this is one
keep throwing them at me.
I would have gave this out if it was still. I bet took some Louisville 4.5. I bet some more 4. I think the best out there now is like juice 3.5. I think Louisville's a better team than Kentucky. I just do. I know Kentucky, the play. To me, that was a Georgia. It was very similar to a lot of games that I thought this week. It was a Georgia game that they kept it vanilla. They played it very simple. It was close to the vest. And they've done that this year against a lot of opponents. So I'm not going to sit there and say, overly impressed with Kentucky's effort here. I like, again, this if you watch the show all year, I'm not the biggest Malik Cunningham guy. I like Dorman. I think he gives them better in the passing game. They've got weapons on the pass. They've got the D-line here. Where you at on this one?
I agree. My numbers say Louisville. Is Cunningham definitely in? Because he obviously didn't play last week.
I'm not honestly. I'm not sure, and I'm not sure. I'm even worried about it because.
So here's what concerns me. Mark Stoops against Louisville last 3 years. Kentucky 56-10 in 2018, 2019 45-13 Kentucky. Didn't play in 20 because of COVID. Last year, Kentucky 52-21. That would be my concern.
Can't argue that.
Take this one seriously, I don't know. But look, numbers are numbers. My numbers made it 2. So
got one more chance to fade this Kentucky team this year, and I'm taking it, baby.
Best bet? We going?
I would have got it with the 4. If the 4 was still out there, I would have put it in there. Now that it's got some juice, 3.5, I think it's a little less appetizing. I'd still play it though, to be honest with you.
All right. Somebody in the chat asked about LSU Texas A&M. I bet 9. I thought it would go to 10. I mean, I don't want anything to do with A&M, that locker room. I'll put it that way. LSU's buttoned up, so that's why I made that bet. I'm trying to think. Texas 8.5 against Baylor. I laid 7 at Circa yesterday, so I agree with at least the line movement there. Although Texas can be an enigma. I mean, what are you getting from Texas? Are you getting last week's Texas? The team that I think you have in your top 10 of my power rankings, I have when they play an A game. They're a borderline top 5 team, or we're getting the Texas against TCU and Texas Tech, or a second half against Oklahoma State. I mean, they're a box of chocolates. So I think from a line value aspect, I do lean Texas there. Is that it? We're just going to go with those 3? I'm happy with those 3. I think we're going 3-0.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I agree. Last touch on the Heisman. I think.
Yeah, Heisman.
If Caleb Williams wins this week, I think he's going to win it regardless of what happens in the Pac-12 title game.
Really?
Unless
there's plus money out there on Williams, so you're rebetting it? I thought I saw it Sunday plus 135. I can tell you, I bet it. I thought I was getting up bet. I saw plus 135 at Willie Hill on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I just think Stroud has been so. Honestly, I feel like this is where I feel like you could have a college football average quarterback come into what Ohio State's been this year and still be 11. And you compare their numbers and everything. He gets a primetime game versus Notre Dame. I think if he plays well and they win, I think he's going to win it even if they lose the Pac-12 title. Now, Notre Dame shut down this year, but we'll see.
I just don't think it's a slam dunk they win those games. I
totally agree there.
Game against Notre Dame, they haven't really played anybody yet. Still, defensively, and even Notre Dame banged up in the secondary, they still haven't faced a front like Notre Dame. So I don't know. I have Crestman in the chat, 130 plus 135 on Sunday, 125, 130 now. Again, I made the plus 135 bet. So yeah, sure, why not?
It's one of those, if you don't have a big portfolio or something, you want to add, a unit on Caleb.
Where are you at? Say, what's Williams winning best position outcome for you right now?
Honestly, I took over the weekend. I was running down to grab some Williams at places, but really with the other portfolio I have, I'm gonna scratch out a small bread either way. It's not gonna be a big year. I don't have any big numbers on Williams, so all the guys I had big numbers on.
Didn't text you in March, got you 15-1. He did for me. You better make a phone call.
Listen. Even if I had it with his NFL plays this year, I would have given it all back by now. So he's gonna need to win to get even.
Good point. That's gonna do it for me. Got anything else?
No, I think that good one here. Looking forward to getting into championship weekend next week.
I do have one other thing. I want to wish everybody out there that's watching a very happy and safe Thanksgiving with your families. It's a work day for me. I won't see the family until Christmas time, but Knish, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Hey, you too, my man. And listen, I'll have enough Midwest turkey here for you to save it down there for when you get home for the Christmas holidays here. Because looking forward to a little Thanksgiving special here. And I mean, what? Listen, you get the college football here with the Thursday Friday. I mean, really, like no better weekend here than the little Thanksgiving action here with the college football.
Thanksgiving weekend is my favorite weekend. I mean, with the football
totally
starting on Thursday with your Lions kicking it off, can't wait to see what that game is and all the games and everybody out there watching. Thanks for watching for us since we're wrapping up the regular season. We'll be obviously coming at you for Conference Championship Week, the Bulls. He is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish. I'm Brad Powers. We just hit the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network.